Please introduce yourself and what you have done.
I'm Sean Murphy, photographer, and I've done many things, but the probably one of the things I'm most proud of is the body of work with Weezer. It's been but besides Weezer, I think Tool, our Maynard from Tool, and has been the only person I've shot longer than Weezer that I'm still shooting today, yeah, so I did this book with Weezer and super proud of it, and took about 3 years to do, and it's finally out, and I'm really excited about it.
A huge body of work that you've compressed into essentially a coffee table book.
Yeah. Yeah,
How does
it's pretty, it's like, it's nice, it's a nice size. I don't know how many pages are in there, 280 or something, I think, something like that. It's nice. Not good size, got some weight to it. Feels good, looks good.
bit of heft, smack a
Yeah,
bug with it if you need be?
exactly. Hit somebody, yeah.
I am also a musician myself, so I know that kind of also how surreal it is, say when you make an album to see this thing that is going to represent what you've done to the world or anyone who cares to pick it up and have a listen to it at least, and kind of that juxtaposition of knowing how much blood, sweat, and tears went into all of this thing, which is now physically represented by something so
hmm
relatively and comparatively small.
Yeah, it's hard, man. It was like, I think when Brian Bell from the band, one day we were doing a shoot over the last couple of years. He's like, man, we should do a coffee table book. He mentioned it like in passing, and I was like, that's a good idea. And and then I thought that sounds like a lot of work, because where do I start? How do I do that? But luckily enough, I moved to Florida from California a few years ago, bought this studio and built a studio. And I had these kids, and I live in a small town in Florida where I grew up by the beach. And there's kids in high school that want to learn photography. So I stuck them in my negative room in the vault. And they were so thrilled just to be part of touching negatives of all these bands that they have heard about, Blink 182 or Green Day or whatever the bands they're into. And so they were thrilled to just sit in there for years. Two years just sitting in their quiet room just scanning, contact sheets of negatives. And so they had already kind of done that. So when it got presented, I was like, well, at least the negatives have kind of already at least been put in contact sheet form. So it kind of saved me a lot of time. But then it was like setting up these 4x8 pieces of foam core V flats all around my studio, and then printing these little 4x6 uh, prints of every shot that could potentially be in the book, and then putting them into categories of uh, chronological order and different eras, and then having these thousands of photos and these compartmentalized all over the studio for months, and then and I live in my studio too, so I can never stop working. And I just would just move shit around or be in bed and then get up and have an idea and edit them and until it got down to a palatable amount. And then and my friend, really good friends with Frank Zappa's son Amit, and we've known each other since we were in our 20s, and he interviewed me for all the pictures. So then we zoomed and we interviewed, so we kind of just did these different phases until it kind of you know, like how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? And it was just like that. And then pretty soon it kind of was, I found a publisher offered to take the book, and he helped me with all that bullshit. And then I got a lawyer to do that bullshit. And pretty soon it was like almost done. And then it was done. So 3 years, but, I was lucky enough to have a designer that I've known that I work with, and she designed the book. And Brian Bell's sister did all the doodles and artwork in the book. And so it's a very special collab. And Carl Koch, from the historian of the band, he did the help with the cover and the forward and all the behind the scenes because he's been with the band for longer than they've been a band. So it's like this really special collaboration, more than just doing a book, I think. So, and I think the pressure was, I don't care if I make any money. That's not was never the goal, honestly. Like it could just be another job that I spent money to do, and it's out in the world. My kids can like be proud of their dad. They see a book in the Barnes and Noble or some shit when they're wearing there, and it'll exist forever. And like people in Australia will maybe have it on their coffee table book, or someone in Europe, or I see kids in like South Korea, and they send me pictures of them. It just makes me feel really good, and and the band really loves it, and that's the most important thing. They're really stoked on it, and they've done it all. So for them to enjoy it and think it's really cool, that's all. That's everything. So
Yeah, I guess that's
that's
a
kind of
yeah, another aspect to it of the work you generally do, again, being for the bands to use and to promote themselves and sure you're credited for your work, but it's kind of, for the viewer, in the most cases, it's going to be an afterthought of who actually took that photo. They're, going to be focusing and paying all the attention to the artist. This is definitely something that, even it is, you know, themed and dedicated to one particular artist, it is still your book.
yeah. Yeah, it's cool. It feels really good, man. And the other unique thing I think about this book is that in the beginning it had a lot of the album covers and the magazine covers and a lot of the work that everyone had already seen that's out there. And then the lawyer suggested, she's like, man, it might be risky to do that because somebody that might be part of some of those projects may come back and want to sue you if for example a graphic designer worked on the album even though you took the photo. You know what I mean? There could be some weird shit. So she said, don't put it. She said, all the people have already seen that anyway. Who cares about that? Like, show them the shit. Show them different versions of that they'll recognize, but it's stuff they haven't seen, and that might be way more exciting than seeing the stuff they've already seen. So that's pretty cool, I think, as well, and some comments that I've gotten because there's just a lot of variety and versions of familiar shots that Weezer fans have already seen. So I'm glad that worked out the way it did.
No, definitely. And I've got, two thoughts off that. The first is, yes, definitely cool seeing, the more behind scenes variant stuff, but also while you're flicking through this, when you do spot an image that you have recognized seeing, you're like, oh shit, yeah, okay. Sean Murphy shot that. Kind of makes those moments when you really connect with something familiar even more amplified by going through it. And the second side of it is just for photographing in general. Like one of the most exciting things for me, other than obviously being there and getting to take the photos, is going home with that box of treasures, as it were, and then and it was even more further amplified through what you were saying, going through the refining process for the album, looking at all these different shots that you take, and sometimes scrutinizing between that one where the head's tilted slightly left first, that one's tilted slightly right,
Yeah.
and which one are you going to pick and choose and spend your time then further editing and working on, having to make those tough decisions, and yeah, getting to see that all laid out in front of you within the book as well.
Yeah, it's also interesting, and I don't know if you ever have this. I don't know how long you've been shooting. I mean, you look like you know your shit, so you've probably been shooting for a while. But do
Appreciate
you ever
about
go?
5 years.
Okay, there you go. So you weren't really from the negative. So as it relates to like I've been doing it for 30 years, and so when I go back and I look at stuff that I maybe shot 25 years ago, and I'm going through these images, I'm like, what I picked then and what I missed because I've evolved as an artist or a photographer and I see things differently. I go back and I'm like, holy shit, like there's all these amazing images and moments that I didn't pick, right? And so I get to go back and like find those treasures that you're talking about and like revisit it, relive it. It's amazing. Um, even the band, they're like, fuck, I don't remember even that shot because so much of it, like you ever shoot for a magazine or something and you shoot like maybe like four setups of a band, but they only take one picture of one of the setups. And so three of those setups just live, they just collect dust forever unless you, I mean, nowadays we can put it on Instagram or social media, of course, but But in the negative days, they just kind of just went in a box, and you never saw them again. And now I'm kind of revisiting them. We were actually doing an interview about the book in my negative room today, which is like this metal vault. It's it's rad. It's like in this little I made it like this double steel door vault, and it's all my negatives are alphabetized in all these boxes, and it's very organized, like thousands of shoots. And we were in there, and we were talking about Weezer, but here in the state, the actor Shia LaBeouf, he's in all the news right now because he's getting into some trouble. He's in New Orleans getting in fights and shit. I live by New Orleans. It's very close to me. But anyway, I'm a huge fan of his just as a person. And I worked with him when he was a kid, like he was like 14, and he was doing that movie Holes, and I shot him, and we did this really cool shoot. His mom was there and shit, and we hung out, and we were talking about Weezer. But I just glanced over, I saw a box, and I was like, I said, pull it down, and I'm looking at his photos. I'm like, holy fucking shit! Like, look how cool this. Look all these cool photos of this kid, and what a cool guy! What a great day we had. And he was, and actually we're posting my social media girls putting a reel up right now from that right now in a few minutes. But it was a really special moment, and it made me kind of overwhelmed me with like, wow, I'm sitting in this room with thousands of shoots or hundreds of shoots, and it's just all these gems that are hidden that I overlooked, and it kind of stressed me out. Like I should spend more time in here. And one of the questions was, would you ever do another book? And I'm like, man, I don't know. I've done three, but only this is the only one I've done that's published. And it was so gnarly. I don't know that I have it in me to do. Have you ever done a book before yourself?
No, CD booklet, but not an actual book.
Uh-huh.
And it's
Gotcha,
enough
gotcha.
excruciating, no time spent over just doing, 3, 4 pages.
Are you a designer as well? Do you do design work, and
Yeah.
like what's your main like craft? Like what do you do? What are you, musician first or a photographer first or
Yeah, that's a deep question. I try and share my love equally, but certainly at certain points in times of your life, one passion may rule out over the other. But I guess ultimately, what I personally would like to be known for most would be my music. But good fucking
Hmm.
luck with that.
I would like to hear looking at you, I would think I don't know your music because I didn't know you're a musician, but if I'm just by looking at you, I'd say Mastodon vibes. What kind of music do you, is that on the right
Oh yeah, yeah,
or
you fairly nailed it. Progressive metal, so yeah, definitely,
yeah, right on.
definitely
Sweet. Yeah. Maybe it's
in the
because I just
zone.
shot Mastodon recently and I was with them, and your vibe is similar. It reminds me of them.
Yeah,
So
nice. Is my beard better than Troy's?
it's pretty good. It's a pretty good fucking beer, dude.
I
I
appreciate
love that. And the coolest thing when you're showing me when I was looking through your photos, because Maynard is a very good friend of mine, and and him playing with Weezer was such an odd pairing, but somehow it works, I guess. God damn, I would have loved to have been at that show.
it.
Just to have been like hanging out backstage or whatever with those guys. That would have been
Yeah,
so cool.
Good Things was an amazing time. It was one of the first, no, probably the first major festival that I got to shoot. I've done some smaller scale festivals and some local festivals, but that was the first one with, yeah, with huge names, especially, yeah, Weezer and Tool, and especially for Weezer's set, because the festival is a little bit more geared towards the more heavy metal side. Good Things has always been very eclectic, but heavy metal is kind of one of the mainstays of it. But when you're standing there, only a couple of meters away from the band itself because you're privileged to be in the photo pit. But then you've got thousands and thousands of people behind you, and you're all singing along to, what's with these homies dissing my girl. It was just such
Yeah,
a
yeah,
crazy cathartic experience. It's like I'm seeing the words come out of his mouth, and I'm hearing
yeah.
the voices of thousands of people, including my own, projecting back towards him. And this, yeah, was pretty mind blowing.
I love that, dude. It's so cool. Yeah, and somehow, even though I shot Weezer for so, I shouldn't say this, and I always say it, and then I'm mad at myself that I say it, but I do it anyway. And I've been shooting them for 25 years, and I never was a Weezer fan. Like I love them as people, and I probably, if you put a gun to my head, I could probably name a half a dozen songs. But I am a now I but now I have a huge vinyl collection, so I've been getting all their Carl's been sending me all their shit on vinyl. And like when I shot Van Weezer, I said that fuck it, I'm gonna listen to this vinyl. And I was like, this is fucking good, man. It's really good. You know what I mean? And then I started going back and I'm like, this is really good. Like and and Rivers is the one I know the least in the band because he's a very unique person. He's very he's just he's not as he's eccentric. So our relationship was a little different than Scott and Brian are the two that I'm closest with. And but Rivers, every time I didn't ever talk to him in between shoots, but every shoot, which was about once a year or whatever, I will go to him and he'll be in some new sort of he'll either be doing some sort of meditation thing or he's into some new music or but I was interested in the way that he wrote so much content. And I was like, dude, like, how do you, how do you get so much written and produce so many albums? And he would always give me the best, like, nugs of wisdom and he would tell me, you know, just every time I'd ask him, what's the new music? And he always would be hip on, like, the newest bands and the newest music, and he's always like, you just got to be hang out with the kids. He loves all genres and Asian music and all this shit. And then it was about time management, and he taught me how to do the way he manages his time, and I still do it today, like with my daily day to day. You know, it's like I have this, but then I have he times himself and he'll give himself little bits of time for certain things. And when the bell rings, he moves on to the next thing, no matter what he's working on. And so he'll constantly get shit done. And so I learned so much from those guys and such a special band. And I think thinking of them playing with heavy metal, it works somehow, right? Because they are Rivers was in a metal band before he was in Weezer,
Yeah,
and
right.
Scott was in metal bands. They're metal, you know what I mean? Like that's like they kind of ride that parallel, but they're for everybody, which is the greatest thing about Weezer. Like kids, so many kids have been buying. People have been buying this book. They're like little for their little kids, and they're so excited. They know every song and they know every picture, and they'll send them to me to get signed. But then their parents also love it, and their grandparents, and it's like this crosses. It's like some bands are like that, right? Like U2 or Weezer, or there's certain bands that just kind of you can hear them on every radio station, you know.
Yeah,
So
just have that
I don't know,
universal appeal.
a universal appeal. So you being in front of that stage, I mean, that sounds incredible, you know. Did they play any kind of metal songs to blend? Like, did they cross into that kind of a little heavier vibe at
Not
all?
not that I can particularly think back to and put a finger on. They had Josh Freese playing with them for those shows as
Oh,
well. So
yeah,
there was,
yeah,
a little bit of extra, Josh flair on the drumming going on, which may have, kicked it up a notch a little bit, perhaps just by virtue of it being Josh fucking Freeze. Uh, but yeah, post good things on my, social feeds. A lot of my friends, again, mostly metal related, it's like, I can't believe how many songs they played that I just knew all the words. Like tough,
isn't that
diehard, hardcore metal dudes, and knowing that
yeah.
their voices were, joining the pack behind me as well.
Yeah. Did you get to go backstage at all, or did they just put you in the front?
Yeah, yeah, just shooting for Sense Music Media, so we just got access to the photo pits. But
That's cool, man.
maybe one day, if you know a guy who
Well,
knows a guy.
if they ever come again, it's easy. It'll just be a phone call, and you can easily. That's easy to do. So it
Sweet.
let me know if they're in Australia. You'll know before me probably, but Carl is my guy, and he's always gets whoever backstage to do whatever. It's very easy to do that. So
That's really
yeah,
beautiful offer, Sean. I really appreciate that, and I will
and
hold you to it.
yeah, of course, man. That's awesome.
So
Yeah,
you spoke a bit before about, yeah, over the 30 years that you've been photographing and how, the technologies have changed, even, what we're looking at in the future, and a lot of, the AI coming in and trying to sort of take over certain aspects, all aspects of everything we seem to do in life. And I was just wondering, how are you personally, or how have you adapted to the changes in the past, and how are you looking at perhaps adapting moving forward?
that's a great question. I guess because I'm in my 50s now, and I was around, I remember the day that somebody said shit's gonna go digital. There's a digital camera or whatever, and it was changing into digital. I was like, fuck that. Like, how's that gonna be a thing, right? And we all kind of fought it a little bit. And I remember there was a time when it was like digital and film, and you're kind of shooting both, and there was an awkward period. And then, and then I had learned how to shoot film, and I had my style, and I was a very fast, I am a very fast shooter. I'm very comfortable with my gear and the way that I shoot people. I think I'm very quick and efficient. And what digital did for me was just amplify that shit. So now it's like I can have three digital cameras still to this day. It's like a Leica and an R1 and a Fuji. And I just, boom, 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 you know what I mean? It's just like it's deadly, So I still shoot digital like I'm shooting film, and then when I'm looking at a scene or whatever, I'm already in my mind like that's going to be like a tri-X black and white film with that sort of grain look to it, and that over there I'm going to do like a 70s low contrast warm magenta vibe with this thing. You know what I mean? So I feel lucky that I got that experience of I'm at that age where it was like I was at the back end of film, but I was a little, I mean, I'm kind of like in between these generations. So I'm lucky that I am where I am. And then as it relates to AI, it's just kind of the same shit, right? It's like it's the same vibe that I remember when things went digital. It's the same. It's like, okay, now we have this technology, and that's great. But I still need to talk to you. And if I was taking your picture, I still need to hang out with you. We need to do some shit. I need to direct you. I mean, I guess I could make prompts and throw your face in some shit and do something, but it's gonna kind of like settle, where it'll be a tool, and I think it'll be a good tool. And when you're flinging through Instagram or whatever, what it's AI. I guess we can get tricked sometimes, but generally you kind of get a sense of things. And I'm not a writer, but I would imagine it's a great tool I mean, for you even, if you're interviewing, you'd probably run things through or ask questions. So I don't know. I choose to think like it's gonna be it's gonna be cool, probably, and maybe it'll take some fucking jobs away. I don't know, but I'm a survivor. You know what I mean? And I love what I do, and I'm obsessed with photography. So whatever I got to do to adapt, I'm not gonna fight it. I feel so, and also I feel good that I'm my age because maybe, hopefully, I'll get to shoot. I'll probably shoot my whole life, but another 10, 15 years of really grinding, and then I'll kind of I can step back and just enjoy all the things that I've got to experience. And I was listening to, do you ever listen to a podcast? It's called The Photo Banter.
No, I
It's
haven't, but I
it's
will
an
check it out.
it's very good. I'll send you a link. Connect with me on WhatsApp or whatever you like to use, or Instagram, and I'll send you a link. But he's a dude here in the States, lives in Boston, and he interviews photographers really great photographers, like hundreds of them, all the best ones. And you can and they talk about their careers but um he was just interviewing now I'm drawing a blank, but he went to the same school as I went to, and where did you go? And anyway, this guy's one of the top music photographers, and he was telling me he was talking about um just he was talking about he's done like 10 times what I've done. He's a little older. He's been around a little longer. And he was saying he's looking back at all he does this, I can't remember the word for it, but he has a subscription based thing where he posts old negatives and talks about them. And people will subscribe for a few bucks a month and he'll tell stories and all this shit. And he's like, man, and Alex is the guy that runs the podcast. He's like, so what are you excited about right now, like in your career? And he's like, man, I'm really excited about revisiting the shit that I've already done because I've been so busy my whole career. I haven't had any time to breathe and just enjoy what I've done. And I feel the same way. It's like going into my vault and just being able to like look at fucking whatever Christina Aguilera when she was 15 years old and going, wow, that was a great experience, or all the Green Day experiences, or whatever the band is, and getting to sit down with it and just kind of relive that, maybe rescan some photos and post a story about it. Because all the stories with me, I've been sober for a long time now, 15 years, but back in the day, there was a lot of crazy shit happening, and a lot of bands in the 90s, we carried on and did. There was a lot of illegal activity happening, a lot of fun things at the time that kind of gave me the edge when I was getting into it, because that's kind of how it went in the late 80s and the 90s. Like we partied with bands and went to clubs, and that's how we met and socialized and bonded, and so all my stories kind of have that sort of, there's a lot of that, and
Hunter S. Thompson X.
it's a lot, dude. It's maybe we could talk again about some other bands, even with Weezer. Like this is a wholesome band, but I was struggling in a couple points in with Weezer, and there was a couple of shoots where I wasn't up to my best. I wasn't my best physically, but still managed to pull off the best shoot ever because I don't know how, but I just came to and was like, I can do this. And like that band is like, they're the best band to shoot in the world because I would just come up with all these ideas with my team meaning like this clothing stylist that I work with and my assistant or whatever. And I would just come up with the craziest ideas and present it to Rivers, and he would just sit there, and I would show him like these poster boards with. I have this huge album collection. I would scan all these albums, and I go, this is the color palette, and I want you guys to be like a gang or whatever, and this, and want to do that. And he just looked at me very quiet, and he go, okay, that sounds good. And he never said no, and I just did whatever I wanted all the time. It was amazing. It's the best thing, the best ever.
Did that
And
tempt you to like try and push it even further? So this time, you're going to be dangling above the sharks, and this is where the guy's juggling the razor blades.
yeah, they never. The only other person that's like that is Maynard. He's insane. Like he loved being in character. And Rivers, what's genius about him, and I've talked about it in the book, I'm sure several times, but he to see him just there, he's quiet and reserved and you know eccentric, but when you give him this is your character, and you dress him a certain way, and he is a character, he turns into that character with a little bit of talking to, he becomes that person. And to see the transformation. The other guys not so much, they support him, but he turns into whatever that character is, and I've never seen anybody do what he does, and he's just his intellect and his eccentricities, all the things. It's like uh, he's one of the most interesting people I've ever met. and I can't believe I've got to work with them. Every time I would do a shoot, starting in the beginning, I in my mind I'm like, that's probably the last time I'll ever shoot them, because sometimes you get hired and that they move on to other people, but they've been loyal to me for my whole career. As a matter of fact, at the end of the book, there's pictures. The last shoot, well, the last shoot was at Carl's house, but we went to Ireland. I got married in Ireland 2 years ago, and we happened to be there when they were there. And so I spent a couple of days walking around Dublin with Brian and Scott, and we, got to go to the show, and Brian had my camera, was taking pictures of, it was amazing, dude. And it's just so cool. The best album cover that they've ever done, I didn't do, and I'm so pissed. They called me and I was out of the country, and it was the Black album, and I was so fucking pissed. I was like, God damn it, that's the coolest shit ever. And they called me like, "You available like on Monday?" I was like, "I'm not here. I'm wherever in Greece or something." And I didn't get to do it, but I got to do the publicity photos for the Black album, so all the ones around the album cover. But that's my favorite album cover. I wish I would have gotten to. That's my only regret, that I didn't get to shoot that album.
Can't shoot them all, and you guess you got to have some regrets along the way again to help juxtaposition those highlights that you have, of which you have many. And as you said, one of the biggest one, a career spanning one, is one that you've just published and put out in a book called My Friend Weezer. Sean, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. It's been another one of those interviews where it's just like, I'd like, could we talk for a few more hours, please?
Yeah, yeah.
So many, my touching points that I've got listed on the side of the screen. Didn't even get to them because we're just talking about so much amazing stuff. So yeah, thank you so much for this.
My pleasure, dude. My pleasure.